There's a brand new show that is launching on Sunday, and in studio to talk about the brand new show, he's part of the team that'll be hosting the new show, Carl Tepper. Hey.
The Trump shill. It's Trump Tepper Tantrum Friday on the Chad Hasty Show.
How's it going?
Good. And we're going to start a new show. It's something we've been wanting to do for some time. The name, tentatively, pencil it in, is called the Politifaith Show.
Politifaith.
And I haven't really gotten, my co-host is a guy named Alan Adkins, a brilliant attorney who reads voraciously topics on religion and faith. And I've always had such, an extreme interest in, I've watched the churches the last 20 years as they've evolved, devolved, split, they're angry, and what their place is in politics and how much politics is in the place of the church. And it's funny, we've been wanting to do the show for some time, but we got serious about it about 2 weeks ago, and people are already sending us a lot of speakers and topics. There's so much of this, it seems, energy around the church. And sometimes I think politics is rough and tumble, but then if you watch the politics within your church or between the denominations in the church, is much more knock down, drag out than it is actually in real governmental politics. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to, and it seems that whenever I guest host for you, Chad, or for Robert, inevitably I'll bring up, because I believe the societal concerns that we have today are really not so much political as they are. We just weren't brought up with certain values that maybe our parents and grandparents were, and really you wouldn't have to fight so hard in Republican Party politics or Democratic Party politics if we were raised in a decent church setting. We wouldn't be arguing about traditional marriage and that sort of thing. And so the phone lines would just explode whenever we talk about these things. And of course, even the Baptist church has been shifting in the way they have their in the way they worship. And I know that the Catholics are always struggling with this, and the Pope makes very subtle changes. And so we want to go in depth into the different denominations, and we want to make it an uplifting show. We're not going to tear anyone down, but there are certainly doctrinal things that we question.
Yeah.
And it's also a little different. We're not ministers, so be careful. Don't ask us to minister to you. We are not ordained ministers. That could be a real dangerous thing. So we don't want to, that would be a real serious sin. We don't want to mislead people, but we do want to talk about the intersection between politics and faith and maybe carry that a little further.
Well, and it's an interesting topic overall, and one that I don't think is talked about enough. And you see it in different denominations. And, for example, I used to be Methodist, and you see within the United Methodist Church, even here in Lubbock, where it's being pulled, some would say apart, by the political differences. You've got, the conservative Methodist out there, and then you have the Methodists that will say, hey, we want to open hearts, open minds. Everything is gay marriage is fine, not a big deal. That's in conflict with what a lot of people who are Methodists and a lot of Christians would embrace. They would be in conflict with that.
It's a huge schism. I'm even hearing reports of a lot of the Church of Christ. They're having certain sermons with music and instruments. With instruments brought into the sanctuary, which is a big change for Church of Christ, some of the major Church of Christ churches. So there's all kinds of shifts going on in the church today, and we kind of want to talk about that a little more.
Do you think that, with some of the mainline, I guess is what they're called a lot, the mainline churches that are out there that are changing and some would say evolving, but they're changing. Is it because they look at it as a political deal, or are they looking at it from a, hey, people aren't coming here anymore. People aren't in the sea. What can we do to attract more people? If we give up a little bit on this doctrine, we can attract more people. And it's very political, isn't it? Let's highlight the things that was most attractive. Right.
Which was, we love everyone. And let's sort of, make it a little more low key, the absolutes and there are absolutes in Christianity. Mm-hmm. So how do we shift our sermons and our church to bring in more people? And is it having an opposite effect? I've also noticed a lot of the churches who have opened their, I hate to say open their doors, but who have, the sermons are much more touchy-feely without the fire and brimstone, and they're empty still.
Right.
And there's also a big group of people out there looking for what happened to the traditional church. Where did it go? Why is it praise music all the time? Where's my hymnal? And I get enough. There's a lot of big screens out there in front of the sanctuary. What happened to the hymnal? I get enough audio-visual, artificial audio-visual stimulation all week long with my computer and TV and iPhone and iPad. Can't I just have a hymnal? Wouldn't it be nice to turn a page? So I hear those complaints, and I'm one of the complainers sometimes. And it's interesting to see shorts in the church and cut off jeans. And some of these churches that I might complain about, I've heard from friends, I need to watch a little more TV on Sunday mornings, but I've heard from friends that the sermons are actually fantastic. Mm-hmm. And very scripture oriented. The music's a little different. It's a little more rock,
Yeah.
but the scriptures are actually very, very well done on what he would consider a spiritual and a strict scriptural sort of message. So, and you know what? Whatever I would always argue, I have my style that I like, and you have your style. But other churches might have another style that are bringing people to Christ, mm-hmm. and we can't complain about that. But we also would like a church that maybe caters to our style. So there are a lot of divisions there, and then of course politics is permeating everything now, including our churches, and we've seen it with Supreme Court decisions on marriage.
Yeah, absolutely. So Carl Tepper and Alan Adkins hosting Politifaith. Sundays at noon.
Noon to 1.
Yeah, it'll be fun. You going to hang out for a little bit?
Do you want me to?
Yes.
Okay, we will hang out. We'll see if we can rile them up again out there.
I bet you. I'll just say this: Paul Ryan.
Wow.
We'll come back. 770-5790 toll free 1-800-687-0790. Chad Hasty, Carl Tepper's hanging out with us. We'll be right back. All right, Chad Hasty Show, News Talk 790 KFYO. Carl Tepper, Lubbock County Republican Chair and the host, co-host of Politifaith here on KFYO. That starts on Sunday, noon to 1. I'm looking forward to it. I think that's going to be a really great show that you and Alan Adkins will be hosting. It starts this Sunday from noon to 1 here.
Yeah, when you're getting out of the 11 a.m. sermon and waiting in line at the Pancake House, you can listen to it through your earbuds.
Yeah, there you go. Carl, you lean towards Donald Trump.
I do.
So you've been happy that Donald Trump was named a nominee. You were poking people on Facebook and telling people to stop whining. Now, was that a joke or what?
It was a little tongue in cheek, but wow, it's gotten worse. They're so angry.
People are very angry.
Very angry.
In this election, and I was talking with it, and I've said this for a while, it's like sports teams. People have developed their candidates like sports teams now, and not just any sports team. I'm talking Cowboys, Redskins, Yankees, Red Sox. That is the level we're at, and it's not just Trump supporters. I noticed this from some Cruz people online too, on Twitter and social media, that once you had your guy,
that was it.
Yeah, and you identify if that guy is attacked, people really get upset about it.
Yeah. And I like to tweak them. I like to tweak the Ted Cruz people.
Why do you like doing that, Carl? Everyone's
they're so self-righteous. He was the Messiah. We were supposed to get in line. He's from Texas. What's wrong with you? He's conservative, and he talks about the Constitution a lot.
Well, he does. There's nothing wrong with that.
What does that mean, though? I mean, we're not constitutional, but the Supreme Court keeps telling us we are. They're constitutional experts too, right? Yeah, Chad's smiling at me because he knows everyone's head out there is exploding right now.
I think it's great. I think look, the thing with
by the way, if Ted Cruz had won the nomination, even on the floor of the convention,
Would you be all in?
Have no doubt.
Okay.
That's a no-brainer.
Would you be whining on Facebook?
You go for Ted Cruz. I don't think. I'm not on Facebook that much. I've had to stay off it because people have been so mean on it. But the last 6 months, I haven't been Facebooking very much.
Just you got to go with it, okay?
No, it would have been a no-brainer to be for Ted Cruz. And actually, I think Ted Cruz was the only one who had a chance at. I don't think he would have won, but he had a chance.
Yeah.
At Hillary. And so that would have been a no-brainer.
I think I've said this from day one, I think any of these guys would beat Hillary Clinton, that includes Trump, except for Jeb. I think Jeb was the only one who could not have beaten Hillary Clinton, and only because of his last name, that people would have held that against him.
I think you're possibly right. I was, what a year. I keep thinking back because a lot of these guys were, I think Chris Christie's a spectacular guy. I think look, this is where I think the South Plains and your region of your listening audience, Lubbock, we are blessed. The South Plains, we are different. But if you're in New York or California, there is a Republican Party there, and they do matter on occasion, and occasionally they're able to win something. Giuliani, what he did becoming mayor of New York was it was really impossible. It was like the moon falling out of the sky. It was all the stars aligned, and he got in. He didn't have to be a Republican. He didn't have to declare being a Republican to win a mayoral race in New York City, a city that's got a population that's like 3 times Arkansas. Mm-hmm. Okay. And he won that because he was such a spectacular leader. And then I think he was a spectacular leader through 9/11. You might not have agreed with all of his social issues, granted.
Yeah.
But these guys like Giuliani, Wisconsin, Scott Walker, Chris Christie, you have to understand what they're up against. People are brainwashed through most of the nation. They are into global warming, extreme environmentalism. It's the gay agenda 24/7. And these guys still manage to maneuver and win and lower taxes and win their legislatures over, which are heavily Democratic, even though they win the governorship and the mayoralty. These are my heroes. These guys, it's easy for Rick Perry and it's easy for Greg Abbott. Easy.
Yeah.
They don't know what a challenge is. It is, and it's easy for Ted Cruz to win Texas because of that attitude and that spectacular conservatism. But the rest of the country ain't that way, guys. And so when you have a Donald Trump, a Scott Walker, a Chris Christie, a Rudy Giuliani, these people are spectacular. They're sharper. They're motivated. And so I think Texans need to understand that it's not like Texas everywhere. Carl, don't you want it to be like Texas? Yes, but it's not. I live in reality. Okay, and that's why I'm sympathetic to these guys, and I think it's incredible when they push through.
Who do you think the big talk right now is VP for Donald Trump? And I think it'll be a while before he actually picks a VP. Some of the names that have been out there: Newt, Chris Christie, obviously.
Do you like the? I've kind of warmed up to the Newt idea. Does that bother you?
It doesn't bother. It doesn't thrill me. It doesn't bother me.
It doesn't thrill you?
No, it really doesn't.
Okay.
I don't know if Newt brings more people to the table. I think Newt is a person that should be out on the stump for Trump, but I don't know if Newt brings anybody in as far as unite. Because I still think that Trump
the father
is do
of
something.
Contract for America.
I know, but I don't think it matters. I think that for Newt Gingrich, him going around and speaking at different events and being a surrogate for Trump, that's just as good as being VP. I think what Trump needs to do is pick somebody, a Rubio, someone who can bring in not necessarily the Never Trump crowd, but the crowd.
Does Rubio inspire you?
Yeah. I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, he does.
I like him. I like him.
I like Rubio. Yeah. And I think that for some conservatives out there who are looking for they're not the Never Trump crowd.
Will he ever lose the little Marco moniker?
Yeah, sure he will.
Okay.
But I mean, for the Republicans who are on the fence and they're just like, give me something, please. Give me something. Newt, I don't think brings those people over. Let
me throw something out. I've heard a little bit around the playground. General Petraeus.
Yeah. Does he get people fired up though? I don't know.
It gets me fired. I'm a vet. He's probably the greatest American general in our generation.
But Trump doesn't need to reach out to you. You're on board.
You're looking for someone who can maneuver in Washington, who exudes competence.
Yeah. but he's not a politician. And I mean, to some extent, but Trump is
the head of the CIA.
Trump has said that he wants a politician, that he wants an elected official as VP.
Okay. And I would guess it would be someone, not a governor. I would suggest it be someone from Washington. Mm-hmm. It's too bad Paul Ryan opened his mouth.
I don't think Paul Ryan would take it. And it's interesting. A lot of these folks who, Nikki Haley, her name was floated, and then she's like, no. And Trump then came out and said, no, I don't think so. I wouldn't pick her. Susanna Martinez, our next door neighbor over here, she said no, that she doesn't want to be Trump's VP. The bad thing about Trump is that he has been a little toxic to where who's going to say yes to the guy? I mean, are we going to have just a bunch of people come out and say no to him? It's interesting. Walker,
I didn't hear any blatant no's from Nikki Haley or.
She said no. And Susanna Martinez, both of them have said no.
Interesting, because
and Ben Carson has said
no one turns down being on the ticket.
Yeah, Rick Perry said yes. Scott Walker has been non-committal, but Walker, I think, did say that he would vote for Donald Trump. And Marco Rubio has said nothing. He's out of the country.
I would like to ask the listeners, 1-800-687-0790, if I may. What do you think about Rick Perry wholeheartedly endorsing Donald Trump? I'm wondering, and he's also been out here endorsing Jody Arrington for Congress. So I wonder if your listeners have an opinion about that.
When we come back, we'll take your phone calls. Back on the Chad Hasty Show, we head out to SS Outfitters, Highway 114 near Levelland. Sky Stracner on with us. Sky, good morning. How are you?
Morning, Chad. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Do you still have that Kimber Solo carry?
Yes, sir, I do.
Oh, it's a good-looking gun.
Yes, sir. And, man, we got some other cool stuff in this week, and I'm just now unboxing a 6 Sauer 238 with pink.
Get you a new or used handgun at SS Outfitters. Thanks, Sky.
Thank you. See you, Chad.
Have a good one. Yeah, it has some real nice guns for sale there at SS Outfitters, including that the used SIG P220 Elite 45 cal. That's a nice gun that he's got there on the Facebook page there. Carl, you want to take a couple of phone calls?
Let's take some calls.
Yeah, let's see what some folks have to say. Today, first up, Jim, you're on KFYO. What you got, Jim?
Hey, Chad and Carl. I think Carl said something I have a little bit of a similar view on, is that I don't think anybody understands people, the way they live in different parts of the U.S. I know some people say Texans don't understand how New Yorkers live, but we get to visit there and we see how they live, and I don't want to live there. And you go to the big city, and these people, they think that everybody in Texas is a bunch of racists, and we're all close the borders, and that's our top priority. And I was want to tell them my top priority is getting my work done every day, and getting my job, and getting back home and getting to watch a little television or listen to a little talk radio. It isn't about running around harping on whether or not we have the right kind of restroom or junk like that.
I'll tell you this, Jim. That's why I enjoy. I'll get people who. We'll get calls from folks in New York. We've gotten some phone calls from folks in New York, San Francisco, Chicago. And it's always interesting to get those calls from people who live outside the state, obviously outside the area, because there is a different way of thinking out there. And it's good, I think, for everybody to hear that.
And you have to understand, it is a national campaign. The Republican Party was in danger of becoming just a Southern party and a regional party. So, you don't want to ask people to give up core beliefs, but politics is the art of compromise, people. I don't know how else to explain it. You have to compromise.
Well, that's why down ballot races are so important. That's why when you look at your state legislature, that's very important. When you look at Congress, hello KCBD and your Texas 19 debate, it's very important. When you look at your city council races, those are very important. I mean, this is why so many of these races are important out there and why people should pay attention.
Can I say one more quick thing?
Go ahead, Jim.
I know probably everybody and his brothers called into the other shows, Rush and everybody, and said this, but get my turn at it. I'm kind of tired of hearing people tell me that this and that about Trump, and I didn't vote for him. I voted for Cruz. I mean, Cruz was the common sense, conservative, constitutional, blah, blah, blah. But, we voted for those people. I voted for Romney. I voted for Bush. I voted for McCain. I can't prove I voted all the way back to nearly Reagan, you know. And sometimes we got what we wanted. Very rarely do we, and we celebrate Reagan like a god because we got what we wanted. But between Reagan and now, really, George Bush did okay, the second one, but we didn't get nothing. We didn't get what we wanted in the legislative branches. We didn't get nothing what we wanted in the judicial branch. So don't tell me that I can't vote for a crazy person once in a while if I want to. and that's the way I look at it.
And you know what, Jim? That is the reason that what you just said is why Donald Trump won, because people have had enough, and they feel the same way you do. We haven't gotten anything.
Jim, I've been trying to express what you just expressed for, I think, 4 months now. So I just want to thank you for doing it better than I ever. Yes, yes, thank you. It's been very it's been very liberating to just vote for someone who's as angry as I am. By the way, the Cruz and Trump voters are very alike. I hate hearing that, but they're very alike in that they are both the outsiders, even though Cruz was a U.S. Senator and is a U.S. Senator. They're
outsiders.
Yes, and so I understand that streak in the party for sure.
Jim, we got to get going. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Absolutely. If you're on hold, stay where you are. We will get to you when we come back. We'll finish up the hour with Carl. That's just how it goes when he comes in studio. Chad Hasty, Carl Tepper.
Rile him up.
That's right. Politifaith with Carl Tepper and Alan Adkins airs on Sunday. Brand new show on Sunday, 12 to 1. We'll be right back. Let's go to the phones. And Paul, you're on KFYO. Hello, Paul.
Hello.
You're on the air.
Oh, great. I heard Carl Tepper say politics is the art of compromise. I just wanted to point out the left never compromises. Only the right compromises. And I think the reason Cruz and Trump were the last two standing is because they don't compromise. And I think it's about time the Republicans learned that lesson. We need to stop.
Well, it's not even that the Republicans are the only ones who compromise. I would say that the Republicans don't compromise as much as they give up. And, compromise is when you have both sides, give a little. Yeah. Republicans have given up.
It's okay to negotiate, but you have to be good at it.
Yeah.
You have to come from a position of strength and work from there. Some of the things, there's a lot of constitutional issues that have come through the last few years, Supreme Court, Congress, and the president's executive orders. But in the meantime, and I use this example all the time, there's a 28% capital gains rate on the sale of real estate. And it used to be 15% 2 years ago. And so these are the type of home issues that are just killing us. I mean, you can argue constitutional theory all day long, but man, I need help, And then when you talk to the farmers in West Texas, the Cotton Ginners Association, dairy producers, these farm bills went very extreme very quickly the other way to them. And don't ask me to get into details. I won't know any. But they're very dissatisfied. They felt that compromises were there to be made, and we didn't negotiate from strength, and our representation wasn't representing them very well. So I agree with you. I think that the Democrats are just better negotiators than we are. They just win more.
Yeah. Hey, Paul, thanks for the call. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks.
Have a good day out there. Head back to the phones. And Stephen out in Muleshoe, you're on KFYO. Hello, Stephen.
How are you doing, Mr. Hasty?
Doing all right. How are you?
Better than I deserve.
What you got for us?
Well, my big thing, I have a big issue with Trump being called a conservative at all. My issues are, you go on his website or whatever, it's supposed to be pro-life. He's going to get rid of Obamacare, of course, the big wall thing. But if you go back to South Carolina, and supposedly he's pro-life, but then all of a sudden he said, I'm actually for Planned Parenthood, and during their biggest scandal ever. And then you get with Obamacare, and back again in South Carolina, where he was being interviewed, and they asked him about the people dying on the streets, supposedly.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, see, that's where I'm different. I like the mandate part of Obamacare. And shoot, last time I checked, that's the reason we all hate Obamacare, is because we're being made to buy a product, something that's considered unconstitutional.
Yeah,
and I mean, there's a lot of parts that he goes back and forth, and then
absolutely
the traditional marriage, and but then again he comes out in defense of transgenders.
Hold on a second. We've heard all these arguments, so let's respond. They're troublesome, absolutely. I wish he'd be a little more consistent, a lot more consistent, and they've had to back him up a few times on some of the things he said. He thinks out loud. He needs to stop doing that. He needs to get much more consistent and ideological. I think we're working on that, trying to get it there. And I also think that he's not a professional politician. Hasn't had to answer these questions ever. Some of these guys have been doing it for a few years, and they know how to keep that focus and that consistency.
But I think that's what worries a lot of conservatives.
And we also know his flaws. Believe me, we know. We voted for him anyway. You're going to have to make a personal decision. Are you going to get comfortable enough with him to vote for him, or are you going to sit out, or maybe there's a third party, or vote for Hillary? But
yeah, it's kind of like, honestly, this is one of my wife. My wife has a hard time just voting at all, because it's like looking at Trump being the bottom socket and Hillary the top socket and saying, which one do I want to stick my knife in? And it's just like.
But you do realize now,
a lot of his ideas are identical to hers, and it feels like.
You think building a wall is identical?
The same thing.
Well,
even then, there's been
do you
times
think
he's been weak on that, and he's talked about,
do you think renegotiating trade deals is identical to her?
No, on that. And see, this is my only thing about Donald Trump that would make me vote for him. For one, he's our only chance not to have Hillary. But my only thing is I actually believe he loves his country. As messed up as he really is, because if you get down to what he really believes and some of the things he says and his morals, if you're voting from a moral standard, to me, he's pretty messed up. But reality is, the only thing I can see going for him is I actually believe he loves this nation. That's it. And and Hillary, I can't say that. I can't.
We got to get going. Appreciate the call.
His opinion is very, with a lot of people out there.
Hey,
everyone, the primary's over.
I would say
these are your choices.
It is. I don't think Trump's conservative, but I have a hope that he would appoint better Supreme Court justices, and that's why right now I'm not in the never Trump category.
I think you're going to get more than that from him.
I hope so. Yeah. I hope so. Carl Tepper, the co-host of Politifaith, which starts this Sunday at noon.
At noon.
Noon to 1. Tune in.